All right, guys, let's check out this Seiko spb143. So big thanks to Nicholas for sending this over. A big thanks for getting this over to me, because I don't know when I was ever going to see it. You know, I work with some ADs and everything, but it's hard to balance those relationships. So I really rely on individuals such as you, who you're watching this video. If you have a watch that you want to see on my channel, on one of these videos, hit me up. I mean, because that seems to work really good. I think that's a healthy relationship. I think that works best for the channel. I like working with the ADs as well. Before I get into the watch, I do have to share this real quick. I still get postcards occasionally. A lot of them are from my Discord members. This one, my buddy Dirk, who has a awesome YouTube channel on knives, he took a trip to Hawaii and he sent this over. This is wood. This is probably has to be, I'm not going to show the backside, but has to be one of the coolest postcards I've gotten in recent times. So I'm going to reconfigure some of this, so there'll be some fresh postcards up here. I put up one fresh one behind the G-Shock guys there. That's from my buddy Detroit Spartan as well. So, all right, let's get into the watch. I know we're babbling too much about stuff you guys don't really care about. So, what are we looking at here? This is a beautiful, they call this the Prospex 1965 Diver. So, that's what it's called. So it looks like it has a dia shield on it, so because it's stainless steel, but it has like a little bit of a yellowish tinge to it. It's not as bright as like a regular stainless steel watch would be, like the SKX. Hopefully you can pick up on that a little bit, but in the metal you can definitely tell it has a different, warmer tone almost, which would probably work really good with a vintage vibe, which there are some of those coming out very soon. Case size on this, it gets a little tricky, because if you just measure, say you measure at the bezel. The bezel's like 40 millimeter. You can see it. Maybe I grabbed underneath, but the bezel's like 40 mil. On the website, they call it a 40 and a half. So I measure like 40-ish at the bezel. Now, if you measure fairly at the 40 to 10, say across the bezel here, it's 41. Well, there's another watch that does that too. It's this guy. It kind of gives you some weird readings depending on where you grab it from. This one kind of does the same thing, but whatever. It wears like a 40. It doesn't wear like a 41 or 40 and a half. It wears like a 40. It's a pretty true to size on that. The lug to lug is 47.6. It is extended by the center end links that are fixed on the bracelet. That's probably going to be closer to 50. I didn't measure that, but it's only 47.6 lug to lug on the actual watch case. Drilled lugs, obviously. A nice screw down crown at 6.5 millimeter, which is going to give you the 200 meter water resistance on this guy. The lug width here is 20 millimeter, and the bracelet tapers down to 18 mil. You have the traditional Seiko dive extension right here that a lot of people don't really care for, and I think it's fine. I guess don't fix it if it isn't broken, sort of thing. But they refined the clasp, and I really like this new clasp. It's still kind of stamped with 4 micro adjust, but it has a milled out center section. The other thing that's really cool about it, I love that. I know you guys mess with that too. I know it's not like a Tudor ball bearing or anything like that, but it has its own mechanical Seiko feel to it. But they oversized the fold over clasp on this guy. It's like longer, and it covers up the buttons a little bit. So interesting change there. But it would be kind of cool if they could maybe integrate some sort of, instead of doing a dive extension, which I know they do to get their ISO certification, but maybe they can just include a longer rubber strap with them for cheap, and then maybe do an on-the-fly micro adjust or something. Oh, time to step it up, right? Because these are $1,200, which isn't cheap. So I'm not going to remove the blue sticker off the case back. This watch is still brand new. Nicholas never even sized it. This is not a special edition. This is not a limited edition. This is just a regular model. So this should be pretty easy to find one. Elephant in the room. Everyone told me to check this. You guys see that, right? There's gappage there. We have some gaps. So a little bit of play in the solid end link to the case there, and it's on both sides. Is that a deal breaker for you? It's a $1,200 watch. Is that a deal breaker? I think it's a quirk. It wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. If I was hot for one of these, I wouldn't let that break my desire to own one of these. I just wouldn't, guys. I mean, this one lines up. I would be more bummed out about that not lining up, which you can fix that. You can't even fix that. And I'm a bracelet guy, so I would definitely wear it on this bracelet because it's a pretty nice bracelet. 120 click bezel. If you spin it slow, it's pretty nice. If you spin it fast, it doesn't feel that great. But, you know, Seiko 120 click has its unique feel. But it lines up, which is easier to do, granted, because they used a Riot instead of a chapter ring. So the seconds track on there or whatever is actually printed right on the dial. If we zoom in, we can take a closer look at that. So you have that beautiful anthracite dial. You have the black bezel insert. I'm not sure if that's ceramic or if that's coated steel. If you guys know, chime in, please. Sapphire crystal AR coating. And again, on the website, they say double curved. They didn't say double domed. They said double curved. So I'm not really sure what double curved means, but this is a single dome. That's why you get that weird deflection. And you have that beautiful handset there, super legible, catches the light great. It's brushed on one half and polished on the other half. And then you have those pressed from the bottom side of the dial, pressed up indices. They're not applied, but they're nice and uniform, framed out with polished, and then heavily filled with the Seiko Loom. Date at 3, very traditional. Crown at 3, all of that good stuff. This is, you know, it's a throwback to the 1965 models. You can see excellent brushing on the case, polished reliefs. And it's using the 6R35 movement, which beats, you can see the second hand beating there. It's not quite a 4 hertz sweep. It's like a 3.5. I think it's like 21,600 vibrations per hour, 24 joules, 70-hour power reserve. That is the awesome thing about the 6R35 is you have a really long power reserve. So you can either wind it or just wear it. And if you're fairly active, you'll get a full wind on it. And it's, you know, you're going to cycle out over the weekend and then put it back on if this is like your daily wear during the week, or vice versa. If this is a, you know, grail watch for you, because it is expensive, you know, and you want to just wear it on the weekends or whatever your scenario is, that 70-hour power reserve is definitely going to help. I did already show it next to the SKX, but for size comparison, there it is again. Way more traditional case and more versatile color palette for sure. I mean, not that the SKX isn't versatile, but this is even more versatile. Let's pop it on my 7¼ inch wrist. It is not sized. There's how much extra links you have there. And I'm sure it's pin and collar, guys. But there it is on my 7¼ I think this, guys, I'm trending back down towards the smaller watches. I've been wearing the Submariner. I've even been toying with the idea of maybe looking at a Black Bay 58 or something. This is actually a good little test for me for the Black Bay 58 because this is, it feels like it wears about the same as the Black Bay 58. But again, at a fraction of the cost. And you know, you have the brand Prestige. I kind of messed that up when I said that earlier when I did the unboxing on this. There's a longer history with Seiko than there is Tudor, and there's a brand Prestige there, obviously with Seiko. Plus, this is all in-house, and it's only $1,200. Not only, I realize it's a lot of money, but you can pick them up used or whatever. Versus if you're trying to compare this or substitute this for a Black Bay 58 or something, you know, buy this instead of the Black Bay 58, if that's where your mindset is, then you're always going to be left wanting that other watch. But this can be a placeholder. We'll call it that, you know, and who knows? What's the worst that happens? You end up selling it. What's the best that happens? Let's think positive, right? You fall in love with this and you say, you know what? I'm good. I'll just keep this. You know, you can do that at any level, guys. You don't have to keep crawling up the ladder that, you know, everyone thinks you do. Most of us do. Oh, look at that bezel misalignment. Is that going to bother you? It's going to bother me. Oh, that's nice. That is really nice. See, I get spoiled with that 120 click on that, and then when I operate a Seiko one, I'm like, it's not that great. I'm still trying to, it's still a Seiko, you know, 120 click, which is different. It's still nice, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, look at the size comparison. It's like a vintage, you know, style diver, because that's what it plays off from, you know. So next to a modern one like this, you can see those vintage vibes and everything, and you can just see that it would wear and look really nice. So let's kill the lights and check the Loom. I babbled long enough on this thing. You know, you know if you want one. Loom is great. Is the Loom, I know some people are worried about, and I've even noticed it, that on these newer Seikos that the Loom sometimes appears slightly diminished compared to the previous models. This is definitely on par with the SKX, which is a heavy hitter. You know, it looms out really nice. So I don't feel like this one's inferior. I feel like it's on point for sure for Seiko Loom. It's plenty bright and long lasting. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next vid.